The great preacher Fred Craddock tells a story about a dinner he and his wife are having in the mountains of Tennessee. And an older gentleman actually comes over to the table, pulls up a chair and says, "How you all doing tonight?" Trying to dissuade the man, Reverend Craddock said, "Well, I'm the professor of homiletics at Candler Seminary." Well, it didn't dissuade him, because he said, "Hey, then you must be a preacher. I love preachers. Let me tell you all a story. A long time ago in a little tiny town in Tennessee, there was a young woman who got in the family way, if you know what I mean. She was going to have a baby. Everybody wanted to know who the daddy was of this baby, and she wouldn't tell. And she was ridiculed, and the day of the birth came, and they thought, this is the time. Who's the daddy? And she wouldn't tell. And she raised that boy with dignity and pride, but he was ridiculed and teased. Everyone always saying, "Who's your daddy? We want to know who your daddy is. Whose boy are you?" And then one day a new preacher came to town. They loved this new preacher. The little boy tried to sneak out one day, and the preacher stopped him, looked down, raised that little boy's face, and said, "And whose son are you?" And the boy began to cry. He'd been ridiculed by everybody, and now it was going to be the church. And then the pastor smiled big and said, "You know what? I recognize you. I know whose boy you are. You're a child of God." And I want to tell you, that preacher changed my life forever. I was that little boy. You folks have a good night. And the old man left. Reverend Craddock was stunned and called the waitress over and said, who was that man?" And she said, "Oh, you mean the governor?" That was Ben Hooper, the former governor of Tennessee. You see, our worth, our dignity, our value can get lost. It can get buried in criticism and ridicule and bigotry. And then it can be found with just the gentle reminder in the voice of grace that says, "You are a child of God." That gentle reminder, now that is a sacred necessity.